Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Way of the Showman, where we view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am your gracious host, Captain Frodo, and welcome to this here bonus interim episode between seasons. I have not been resting on my laurels. I have been working fastidiously on writing a book. It's called The Way of the Showman, a philosophy on showmanship, and it is something that I will be sharing with you in the next few months. And I have a grand plan worked out for how to do all of that and set it up so that we can share both that and these regularly scheduled episodes. The book is kind of the philosophical underpinnings for everything that I have thought, and I have learned an enormous amount from trying to organize all of my thoughts, place them all in order so that when you start in the beginning, you can build a foundation that becomes more and more of a grand structure. It's trying to organize all the things that I have thought, my process for how I create shows and how I introduce meaning and purpose both into my life and into the work that I create. So I'm looking forward to sharing all of that with you. But for now, let's go back in time to the very beginning of the Divine Comedy, where Dante says, "In the middle of the road of my life, I awoke in the dark wood. In the middle of the road of my life, I awoke in the dark wood, where the true way was wholly lost." The true way was wholly lost. Such begins Dante's great Divine Comedy, and I feel it fits with my particular situation. As those of you who have listened from the very beginning of this podcast to the very first episode called The Day Showbiz Died, you will know that the shutting down of Las Vegas, the shutting down of the whole world of showbiz, coincided with my birthday. My birthday is on the 12th of March, and this all was also wrapped up with my family from Norway being en route to America on the 11th of March, about to take a plane and land in Las Vegas on the 12th of March. And you can hear all about that in the first episode, so I won't recapitulate that for you now. But that means that the day that really became the beginning of the end, the last few moments before the grand midway, the grand carnival that is Las Vegas, shut down its casinos, shut down its rides and its glorious sideshow shows and main stage shows and three-ring circuses. Along that way, some of those companies will never open the doors again. It's a crazy thing, but that all coincided with me and my birthday, and that means that it's my birthday again. And I'm 45 years old. I am halfway through my life, if I am lucky. So I'm in the middle of the road of my life, and I have awoken in the dark wood, and the true way is wholly lost. But of course, it's not wholly lost. It's not completely gone. There are still things happening. I have my fingers crossed. The vaccine seems to have been doing wonders over in America, and some of the Spiegel World shows are opening in the next few days. And the 25-foot rule, the rule that the audience had to be 25 foot or was it 26 foot away from the performers even when they're wearing masks, that's been cut down to 6 feet. So that means that many of those shows can open again. I know this is the first step towards getting some of the shows back up and running in Las Vegas, and hopefully they can do that without putting people at risk. Who knows? It's still a very fragile world out there. Norway just announced tighter restrictions just yesterday, so shows aren't opening here in the next few days, so there's going to be restrictions until May. So who knows how it all goes. But 1 year ago, I just got to think back now. 1 year ago today, that was the beginning. Well, as Raoul Duke says in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, he says, on leaving Las Vegas, he says, the decision to flee came suddenly. Or maybe not. Maybe I had planned it all along, subconsciously waiting for the right moment. The bill was a factor. I think because I had no money to pay for it. Our room service tabs had been running somewhere between $29 and $36 per hour for 48 consecutive hours. Incredible. How could it happen? But by the time I asked this question, there was no one around to answer it. That rotten attorney of mine, Dr. Gonzo, was gone. He must have sensed the trouble. I find this quote too has just been going through my head. The decision to flee came suddenly, or maybe not. Maybe I had planned it all along. This was the case for me too. The shows closed down at... it took a couple of days. We got the message that things were going to be okay on the day before my birthday. I decided my family shouldn't come, and we thought, okay, we're going American style here. We went out and bought enough food to last for the entire apocalypse, and we went into hibernation. I think this hibernation is kind of like we were there. I was homeschooling my daughter. We were swimming in the pool, and we were just being all by ourselves for weeks on end, not seeing a single other person. My wife was doing the shopping, coming home, washing all the groceries, washing the vegetables and soap in the sink. It was a strange time, and there was no one around to answer it, just like they say in this quote. There's no one around. And the bills were running, and the money stopped coming in, of course, because the shows stopped. So I find a connection with this quote. But we bought all the food enough to last us through the entire apocalypse. So in one way, we were preparing to stay. Yet, when we did take the decision to leave, we literally just went, okay, this is not going to work out. The money will run out. It's time to go. And then within two and a half weeks, we packed up everything, put our stuff in storage, and got on a plane and traveled to Norway. And of course, when I got here, things were a lot better. And I managed to put on a show, a sort of brand new show that every time now, those few times when there are possibilities to get on the stage, I am seizing the moment. After doing 10 shows a week over in Vegas for the last couple of years, it's where the creativity is limited because we're presenting the same show night after night after night, show after show. So here I'm just pushing myself, and I created a new show, and I actually was thinking that I could do a whole episode in this bonus interim way that I'm doing now, where I just talk about my process, talk about all the things that happened in creating that show and creating some school shows as well, and some shows for younger family things. So yeah, if anyone thinks it would be interesting to hear me talk about my process and talk about the creation of the shows, then drop me a line on an email on thewayoftheshowman@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook under Captain Frodo or Frodo Santini. Both of these places will direct you to me and tell me what you think. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, I've been writing the book, and we had bought all the food to be in hibernation. And of course we didn't end up eating that. We gave it all away to other starving artists who were trying to survive under those peculiar things. So who knows? Even though we bought all the things, the decision came suddenly, but maybe we had planned it all along, going to somewhere safer. I wrote the first draft of my book. That was the first initial instigation of that. I was writing every day, doing a class with my daughter, and then I was writing. And I came back here and then took a break as I just took more and more work on the podcast where I spoke to you guys last. And Actually, one of the funny things was when we then were leaving to Norway, we drove, and that was a strange time too. We'd sort of been locked up and stuck away in our house in Vegas, and then we rented a car and we drove to LA. And for the first time, we were kind of in the city again, just briefly, and stopped off at the airport. And I remember dropping off the car after having dropped my family off at the hotel. And it was just weird. Everything is so deserted, and my wife had found a hotel close enough to the airport so that I could drop off the car and then walk to the hotel. And we had the car seat in the back, and I was walking along the road, and I needed to do something with the car seat, and I just stopped at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere out that somewhere at the edge of the airport in LA. And man, what a strange time. I just dropped that car seat off and then went to the hotel again. And when we were at that hotel, we needed some extra cups to drink some coffee or whatever, and we were served by a robot. We called down to reception, and then an actual robot came up, like a rolling thing up, and it popped open its lid, and you could grab the cups from inside there. And I was like, oh wow, they were prepared for the apocalypse here. But the way, as we know it, has gone. We've all needed to sidestep here along. You know, a lot of my friends and people I know have gotten into doing the Zoom shows, and that's very exciting. I did a few in the lead up to Christmas and that, but as it is now, the writing has taken over. Since before Christmas, I have been getting up between 5 and 6 in the morning, and then I write for 2 hours before I go to work, or before my daughter gets up, because I've started to do some honest work as well. I have been working, I am still working at a Steiner school, at a Waldorf school as a teaching assistant, and I'm there for 3 days a week. I mean, it's just a 20% job. I still feel like it's taking a whole lot of time, but it's exciting, because I've always thought that there's, according to the way I define a performer as somebody who stands before a group of people, and you deliver material that you have carefully structured so that they will understand it and it will be meaningful. If that is the definition of a showman, then that is also the definition of a teacher. So I've always thought that would fit in very nicely, and it's been very good to be in a classroom situation, because the kind of material that we structure for kids, it's the second grade, they're very young, and the kind of material and the kind of interactions that we have with them have a totally different time frame. It's a time frame that goes day after day and week after week, and not the intense material that we have structured for a show. So that's been a very interesting thing to look at. What is it like to be doing this ongoing show of showing the kids the world when you do it day out and day in? That's been very nice. It is a little sidestep, and we all do what we need to pay the bills. And so many dreams that have been put on pause, you know. It's very strange to be in one spot without being able to do the shows, because previously, all the way through my life, my life has been dictated by the shows. The show plans, where do we go, how long we are there, who we get to be with, all of that has been completely connected to a show I have been doing. So when I'm here, stuck without it, we wake in the forest, wholly lost in the middle of our life, going, what am I doing with my life? Previously it seemed like it was all, each new gig, each new thing led further on. Now I do work in a school, and we've been installing a grey water system at our house by the lake. We dug a hole that's like 2 meters 20 deep and big enough to swallow me up. Put huge tanks in, and I've dug so much dirt. I've just been thinking of a day in the life of Ivan Denisovich and the work they were doing in the gulags there. Man, that is hard work to be digging for a living. Wow. I also saw Chernobyl, that show there, and I saw those miners in there that dug that mine under the town. Holy moly, I'm glad I played my cards differently and ended up being a showman and didn't end up becoming a ditch digger or a miner. That's hard work. Perhaps these days they use some more sophisticated and massive tools when you're doing mining than just a shovel and a pick, but still, yeah, wow. I've been shoveling a lot of gravel and dirt. It's like I've been in some sort of penal colony. But every time we go for a walk around the lake, my wife and I, we keep coming back to the same exact situation. We're just going, what are we doing? Where are we going? It's so hard to just be sitting in one place. And I think I see this reflected everywhere in everyone that I talk to. Previously, all of our decisions were taken, sort of where to live and how long to live, that were taken by work, by shows. The show plan determined how long we would live in one place and how long we would stay there and where we would live. So the decision to go to Las Vegas for us was an attempt to settle down, plant some roots, and wow, as I have described before, the Showbiz Devil went to town on that one, going, dude, don't settle down. And in a weird way, this having to leave Las Vegas like this is a weird mirror of the first time I was in Vegas as well, in 2013 and into 2014. So I left Las Vegas, or La Clique, the show that I had been in for 12 years, and the decision to flee that time, because I had to flee then too. The show closed that time as well. And that time I had actually already signed a contract with Circus Nemo, which is excellent Danish circus. So I went to Vegas knowing that I was going to spend 5 months over the summer in Denmark. But and I remember also that it was going to be a contract that was for considerably less money in Denmark than what I was making in Las Vegas at the time. And I remember having one of those weird sort of fiscal moments of anxiety where one part of me was like going, why should I go to Denmark and make less money? Because, of the... And then ultimately that question just, I answered it because of the love of it. I can hardly think of a more authentic outfit than Circus Nemo. It's such a perfect fit for me, such a beautiful little jewel of a circus. Anyway, I was making, what are the point that I'm making here? Like, why am I talking about money and all this sort of stuff? And it's, of course, because we're thinking about that more now than I am, certainly, than what I've used to. When you're employed and you're just making the money, you don't really think about what's going on. But I was questioning it then, and as a result, when I decided to go to Denmark, then less than 5 weeks after I had left to go to Denmark, the show in Las Vegas was closed. Then it wasn't a pandemic or a tsunami or anything. It was something, but it was still massive and sort of, what could you call it? It's like, it was the whole casino was sold. And that's a fascinating thing in itself, that the casino that's already up and running and it's got show going and it's got all sorts of things happening, and then the show was sold from one big finance group to another big finance group, and a new finance group decided to cancel the show, and I think they pretty much closed maybe not every single thing, but closed a whole lot of stuff and fired a whole lot of people and whatever. And anyway, I was in Denmark when all of that was shutting down last time. So as the show was shutting down in Vegas, I was still had 4 months of work in Denmark. But it's weird that both times I went to Vegas, it's been shut down by these giant impersonal forces. And that time I had chosen the art. I'd chosen what was right for me as an artist, not as an economist. If I'd chosen like an economist, I would have chosen differently, but because I'd chosen, I followed my heart, I ended up in Denmark, and that led to basically me finding an excellent new friend in Søren Østergaard, who could both be my boss and also be a mentor. working with him has been amazing. It was amazing, and I hope that they get out on the road again today in Denmark. But I'm losing my way here, even as I'm speaking to you. When I chose the art instead of the money, that was what I was saying. It led to me creating a family show in Denmark together with him, and I did that for 2 seasons. And that's basically launched my whole career as a family entertainer. It stretched me out where I was thinking, if I am going to be the illuminated showman, as I like to think I am, I should be able to apply these things that I think about, that I'd been thinking about performing for adults or so in La Soirée and in Spiegelworld, both in Vegas Nocturne, which the show was called in 13-14, and in Opium, which I've been in for the last 2 years, and in Circus Nemo. It's all kind of been work that has been aimed at adults. But then together with Søren Østergaard, we created this family show, and part of the inspiration was the crazy antics and crazy physical and character-driven humor of Søren Østergaard and Circus Nemo. And the other thing was that I was inspired by him just by the fact that I was actually speaking Danish. So I did a 1-hour family show in Danish, and that was an achievement in itself. And all these things were stuff that came when I was just following my art, where the art was leading me. Because this is the way, I think. This is the way, as the Mandalorian would say. It's we got to follow the way. The way is formed for each step that I take. And as I'm coming back here, I'm finding that I am still possibly even more dedicated to the way now. With all this writing and all this creation that I've done through writing and through ordering all my thoughts, I have found that even though it's a little bit abstract now, but I found that my love, almost like, what is it, that absence makes the heart grow fonder, or is it absinthe that makes the heart grow fonder? Anyway, not being able to do so many shows has certainly made me long for it, and I just don't know, we don't know when will we have the next contract, where is the next project going to come from, and the next season. And as I ask this, I also ask, who am I? I mean, we're all asking that. I'm still a showman, or maybe more so than ever, but I have grown. Doing 10 shows a week for years is not like magic every single show. By the time you're doing 10 shows and you've done your 80th show in a row, it's not, then it turns into work, Now, each time I have the opportunity to do a show, I dive into it like a man ravaged by hunger. I've created so much new material. Each show becomes precious, and I want from it all I can get. Because it is strange to lose your way and be wholly lost, but the way is still there, and in the intersection between me and the world is still the show. And I'm formulating my philosophy of showmanship, and my understanding of my craft has deepened. And so I'm working as a teacher, assistant, and I am working sporadically, doing some family shows and some adult shows and a little bit of Zoom internet-based shows. And I've also just, actually through this podcast, I've hooked up with 2 different people, and I'm working as a director or co-creator on 2 different projects, and that has been also immensely enriching. To be online and to talk to someone and to be deeply in a creation process that aren't under the normal pressures of deadlines, because the shows that we are creating now, they will happen. Of that I have no doubt, and the work that we're creating is going to be amazing. I'm so excited. But to have this additional time where I would normally be working, doing the shows, and you only have a limited time available, but now the passion has come back in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. And each of these projects that I've been working with, are both people who are asking deeper questions of themselves. So this time it feels like it's good for that kind of work. Projects that extend themselves beyond I can juggle or I can squeeze myself through 2 rackets to something which is more important. It's like if you only get to say a little bit, and you don't know when you get to say it, you want that little bit of time in the spotlight to count. So each project is of course colored by our current strange situation, but they're also both aimed at the future, and I feel like they're seeds, they're acorns that they won't grow until the world is back on track. But once they do, I feel like they're going from just being this fragile little seed to I see an acorn as there's this huge potential in them. I mean, and I do think that when things open up again here now, we will have the roaring 20s. I've said it before, and it's going around. People are talking about this as a real thing. Las Vegas started and closed again, and it's about to open again. And Australia seems to be doing well. And from what I understand, it's already, there are signs there. It's still so fragile that it's not quite there yet. But by the time this gives us a break, I think we will have a very good time. And that's why I think it's important now to be working and to be thinking a little bit bigger and a bit deeper thoughts about what we do. I mean, I for one, I will be doing my acts as they used to be and all of that. But I also want, and that was what I did in my show when I put it on here, I want the work to be deeper and say more stuff, and I want it to count. And anyway, if I hear back from some of you, I will go into more detail about the work that I've been creating and how it's been influenced by this podcast and how it's been influenced by the pandemic. But 1 year after it's closed, after Vegas closed and after the world really closed down, I'm here on my 45th birthday. I'm rambling along here all alone. But I know there are people out there who feel just like me, and people out there who's got their fingers crossed that the world will come back. And I hope that you share the faith I have in the fact that it will all start coming back online, and as it do, our time, as those who stand before people to make the times even better, I hope that we not only have our regularly scheduled tricks and acts, I also hope that we have something more to say. I know that it's going to be our job to make people smile, make people laugh, make people love, and make people really truly appreciate being together in groups again. But I also want to be able to share with them just how precious that is, if nothing else. Just remember that, how we longed for those moments, and when we go back on stage, that even if you don't add a little speech in where you say, oh, remember how important and how happy we need to be that we're healthy and that we can gather. But sometimes the audience can smell that, they can feel it, they can get it in every pore from you. They can see that this is more fragile than we ever thought it was, and we should never take it for granted that the very purpose and the very thing that gives meaning to us who follow the way of the showman, the fact that we can gather audiences and stand before them and transform those experiences into real good times, for all of that we will have to treasure it and not take it for granted. I think that in this time this will be instilled in us. It certainly is in me, so that's why I think it will come out through our pores and through our art. This is one of the things I will take with me, and I think the audiences will be blessed to see it in all of us. There's something very weird. It's like a great war. Or I've been reading a book about fall of the Soviet Union, and there too it was not all very good when the Soviet Union was doing its thing, but in hindsight people are looking back at the time in the war or in the Soviet Union, where something that it was imposed upon you. But there's still, I think, I will have a certain nostalgia back to this, the time when we could not do the shows. It was wholly different. And although I'm feeling wholly lost, I am still preparing, and all this work and all this reflection that's going on now. This time that has been given to me, it's given me time to think, and it's changed the game completely. And in this game that we're playing now, it's forced me to take stock of what's important and how am I going to spend my time, and that when I'm not just doing the shows, what's really important. And I'm certainly finding back to some creative roots that I don't think I would have managed to dig up if I was just doing the show after show after show. So I am treasuring this time, and I am also looking very much forward to the vaccine taking its effect. And we see that it's already working in America. The numbers of hospitalizations and the numbers of deaths are dropping. I hope that will happen across the world. And I hope that we will stand strong, because this is a very strange time. I'm enjoying it, but I'm also ready for it to open again. This has been a long ramble. I normally script my stuff and have a lot more notes prepared, and I normally end up with something akin to an essay where I'm telling you all these things and insights that I've had. This is just one long ramble, just sharing my thoughts as to what's going on 1 year into this peculiar time. It's my birthday. I'm 45 and I'm wholly lost. But with all its sham and drudgery and broken dreams, I think it's still a beautiful world. So until we meet again, or until we start the second season of The Way of the Showman, you just have to take care of yourself and those you love, and I hope to see you all along the way.